The guest is Mr. RPatton, and the topic is the Freedom Rides. And of course, Mr. Patton is a participant in the Freedom Rides of May of 1961. And Mr. Patton, let's give you an opportunity during this last segment to simply inform our audience of some of the impressions and some of the things that happened to you and others during this very, very critical period in the civil rights movement.
Okay. One of the things, I think, things that happened to the Nashville group, our first group that left, there were 10 people on that bus. One of the things that we have to realize is that there was danger there. They knew that. And they also knew that this was something that had to be done. And when on the Saturday morning, they departed from Birmingham to Montgomery. Now, as I stated earlier, the FBI has to know, so they had everybody made the phone calls to let the FBI know. Of course, they already knew with these people in jail. When the bus pulled into Montgomery, the students on the bus noticed that there were no people around the bus terminal, which was strange. There were photographers on the bus with the students. The photographers got off first. And when they got off, this is where this mob came from nowhere. They attacked the photographers and camera people first, broke up their equipment. Apparently, they didn't want the nation to see what was going on. And when the people on the bus saw this, this is when they started scattering, because they knew that this was going to be a bad day. There are some pictures that you've probably seen in Life magazine of John Lewis and Jim Swerve. I think John has a patch on his head and Jim has lost a tooth or what have you. There were some other injuries in that. A young man who was a student at American Baptist, he was hospitalized. Someone had a long rod, steel rod, and he was on the ground. They was trying to push it through his ear. He's no longer with us. After that, he was never quite right.
Again.
There were a couple of students who got away in a taxi cab, so everybody just scattered. They were running. That night, at least that Sunday night, the next night, Sunday, they had a rally in Montgomery at the First Baptist Church, and Dr. King was the speaker. Now, on that Saturday, that's when I left to go to Montgomery. My portion of the Freedom Ride started in Montgomery, but before that, after I was working the office, and I said, there's no way that I'm going on a Freedom Ride. I'll stay here and do what I can from this end. But you never know what the man upstairs is going to do to you and what he wants to do through you. I went home. We got a call that we needed more Freedom Riders. I went home and put my suit and tie on, came back to the office. We rented a car, called the FBI to let them know that there was a group in a car driving to Montgomery. And I didn't tell my mother. And so that Saturday and Sunday at the rally, matter of fact, as we were having the rally, outside they were burning up people's cars. And the next morning, Monday morning, we were planning who would be on what bus. They had the Greyhound and the Trailway bus, so they were dividing the groups up. And there were 25 in the group at this time. I was on the second bus with Dr. Lafayette. The first bus left, and what we didn't know was that we had the National Guard, Alabama National Guard, on the bus, in cars, and in the air. Took us all the way to the Mississippi state line, and then the Mississippi National Guards took over and took us on into Birmingham, I'm sorry, into Jackson. When we arrived at the Jackson bus terminal, we were arrested for a breach of peace. and disorderly conduct. They dropped the disorderly conduct and charged us with breach of peace. And of course, we all decided that we would stay in jail. And that was a $200 fine or 67 days in jail. The next thing, we were moved to the city jail. Now, in the city jail, apparently they hadn't used the part where they sent us. And there was segregation in the jails.